Have you started to see these credit card surcharges pop up 3-4% to pay with a credit card? This is something we never used to see, but this has changed over the past couple of years as businesses are trying to recoup the costs that it takes to take credit cards. It's become much easier to recoup these costs because most transactions are digital these days. This has been one of my cases for the blockchain and Coinbase specifically as a stock, is it's actually much more efficient to transfer money on the blockchain than it is to transfer it through traditional debit card and credit card networks. Those networks take between 2 and 3% of each transaction. Now, if you're a business owner, you're running something like a restaurant or a grocery store, it is very possible that the credit card companies and the banks behind them make more money on the transactions that you're implementing than you do. So businesses are responding. So as inflation has taken hold over the past few years, and businesses don't want to raise their prices anymore, how do they generate a little bit more revenue? How do they pass these costs back on to consumers? They implement surcharges. And these surcharges are legal in most states. I'm starting to see them pop up more and more. Today, I went out to a restaurant, 4% surcharge for using a credit card. And guess what? I wasn't prepared to pay with cash. But all this could change with the blockchain and with the kind of technology that Coinbase is implementing. So I want to go through what the case for this is today, because I think this is the kind of innovation that's going to be a trickle right now, but eventually it could be a flood. And there's really no way for these credit card companies, for these financial institutions to respond if businesses start accepting blockchain transactions like USDC. I think this makes a lot of sense long term. I think a lot of businesses could be more profitable by taking digital transactions, and Apple could be the key here. My name is Travis Hoium. Thanks for watching Asymmetric Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And thanks to this video sponsor, The Motley Fool. If you go to fool.com/ASYM, they'll give you their top 10 stocks to buy right now. Let's start with a look at how much transactions cost on the blockchain, because this is ultimately what the competition for companies like Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover are. Is it actually cheaper to move money from point A to point B on the blockchain? And the answer in a lot of cases is yes. Let's start with a couple of examples here. This is actually data from Solana, and this is actually a couple of years old. So some of these are improving a little bit. Transactions per second is really important. 65,000 transactions per second for Solana, 7 for Bitcoin, Ethereum 30. But the third line in this, and I'll show another image here in just a second, is the transaction fee. That's the cost to actually make that transaction on the blockchain. You can see that Solana is just a fraction of a penny. Binance, just a fraction of a penny. Multiple blockchains are going to be relatively efficient to move money from point A to point B. The other one that's not in this is the Base blockchain. Base is the blockchain that Coinbase has developed that was launched relatively recently. And they have said that transactions are now under a second and under a penny. So that's going to be the lower transaction cost than any credit card or debit card transaction that you can make. Any transaction, even if you're just moving a few cents. So why is this so important? First of all, think about the way that we use credit and debit cards today in modern transactions. A lot of those transactions are now moving to digital devices. So you're using a phone instead of a physical credit card. Remember, credit cards were built as those physical devices. Back when I started using them, you had those swiping machines. There was paper involved. It was not all that efficient, but it was better than writing a check. We're now using digital devices, so digital services actually make a lot more sense. And this is where Coinbase comes in. They make a number of products. Obviously, you have the exchange, you have the Base blockchain, they have Coinbase Wallet, and Wallet as a Service is the product that they're calling it. So basically, any app can build a digital crypto wallet into their application. And here's the big thing. This came out last month. Apple is allowing developers to offer in-app NFC or near field communication transactions using the secure element. Now, we don't know exactly how this is going to work or exactly who's going to implement it, but in theory, you're going to be able to use something like the Coinbase wallet, access that secure element to tap and pay with something like USDC, the USDC stablecoin, which is run by Circle and was started in partnership with Coinbase. All we need to do to make this happen and have lower cost transactions and actually break up the monopoly that these credit card companies have is for payment infrastructure companies to actually adopt the blockchain. Are they doing that? The answer is yes. One of the big players, Stripe, is now saying that they're going to start implementing the ability to take USDC stablecoins. So you're going to be able to pay with a crypto wallet for customers that are accepting Stripe. This is going to be very similar to the way that you can accept credit cards today. PayPal has gone as far as creating their own stablecoin. So they would like to use their own stablecoin because they're going to be able to generate revenue off of that. But if that's not the case, they at least want to be your payment processor, and they're going to be able to do that on the blockchain. Now, all of these companies are going to charge their own fees and subscription fees for operating the platform that you're using to actually take payments. But they don't particularly care if you're accepting credit cards or if you're accepting USDC for your transaction. In fact, it's probably more profitable for them to accept cryptocurrencies because they don't typically make money on those credit card transactions. That's actually a point of competition for them. But remember, Apple's really the linchpin here. If you are using an Apple wallet or an Apple card, and you can now, in the future, use a digital wallet, access your money directly by a much lower cost medium, and you can save yourself 4% like I could have today, that will make sense. That will be worthwhile for consumers to make that change. And it's going to be a matter of clicking a couple of buttons. It's not going to be getting a new card. It's not going to be learning how seed phrases work. All of this stuff is going to happen in the background. And I think that's what's fundamentally different about what's going on today is all of the infrastructure changes, all of the way that we use money, the things that need to change about how we use money, using a digital device instead of a physical device. All of that work has already been done. Coinbase, whoever's making digital crypto transactions, doesn't need to train people how to use their phone to make payments. Apple did that years ago. Now the next step is making those rails more efficient, and that's where the blockchain comes in. Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/ASYM for the top 10 stocks to buy right now. So why is this important today? Well, if you're starting to see these fees start to pop up, you're maybe a little bit more likely as a user to make a small change to save a little bit of money. If every once in a while you make a transaction with a crypto wallet instead of using a credit card, that's an incremental loss of revenue for credit card companies and an incremental gain for the blockchain. And just like adoption of credit cards to begin with, something starts small, but it starts to be a flood. And the payment processor companies have already started to implement crypto transactions. The NFC chip is opening up. The blockchains are secure and safe. Coinbase has built wallets as a service. All of the infrastructure is in place. Now it's just a matter of merchant adoption and user adoption. And these fees could be what pushes the industry over the edge. This is the kind of thing that I've been expecting to see pop up because just a couple of years ago, Visa actually raised their transaction prices. And how does Visa respond if the blockchain starts to be disruptive to their business? The reality is they can't. They can't do something that is going to be more efficient and cheaper than the blockchain. The banks, who are taking about 2% of that transaction fee, are they going to be able to lower their fees, not give incentives to customers to continue to use credit cards so that they can lower that fee from 3% to 2% or 1%? I don't think they're going to be able to do that. All of these things are already too ingrained in the credit card industry. But if you're telling me that it's going to cost 4% to make a credit card transaction, and I could save that money by simply using a digital wallet that I have money in, that I have access to on the same digital device, the same smartphone that I'm using to make the payment in the first place, I'm absolutely going to take that opportunity to save that money. So something to think about. This is an industry that's really it's in its nascent phase, but all the infrastructure pieces are in place. And I think this is where the blockchain is going to be much more disruptive than a lot of people give it credit for. And that's something to think about next time you see that surcharge when you want to make a credit card transaction. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to Asymmetric Investing. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you here next time.